Welcome to Global Winning Women Live. It's Alison Marlowe here chatting to Jenny Kovacs, who is currently our Winning Women Ambassador for Kent here in the southeast of England. Now, I was just thinking, I had to have a little check-in with Jenny because I couldn't remember quite how long it was that we actually met. But Jenny informs me that it was only just over 2 years ago. I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 3 years ago because, you know, sometimes when you meet somebody, you feel as if you've known them forever. Jenny's one of those people. And we met at an event. That's where our friendship really began. And for the last couple of years, we've really championed each other in our entrepreneurial journeys. And earlier in 2014, Jenny became a Winning Women Ambassador, as I have already said. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Jenny. I'm going to start with a little bit of her background. She has a career spanning over 19 years training and selling at companies such as Thomas Cook, the Abbey National, Boots, Lehman Brothers, British Telecom, where visibility, being noticed and remembered was important for success and sales. And then Jenny left the corporate life, working in major UK cities, to transfer these skills to entrepreneurship while travelling internationally. And, you know, wherever Jenny has worked and whoever she's worked for, Jenny has always been, you know, the person that stands out. She has a knack of being remembered and loves helping you to do the absolute same. She's a real gem at doing this. And, you know, she really specialises nowadays in helping you become visible in your business, which obviously is what we're going to be chatting about today. And I think it's going to be a really good starting point here for Jenny to be able to define what visibility means, because it's different for everybody. You know, it doesn't have to mean standing on stage. So it's really all about being visible in how you present your true self to those people around you. Jenny's also really passionate about spreading the ripples far and wide, and I think you're really going to appreciate this. So, Jenny, are you there?
I'm here. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. That was lovely.
I've got lots more. You know, I want to talk about very much about how you walk your talk, and I just think that this will become very, very apparent as we just move into our little chat. So, you know, Jenny, I think one of the things I've known, we've both been on this journey for quite some time. You have become known very much as the queen of being seen. And, you know, this is all about visibility. I think this really, really needs to be our starting place today. Can you just tell me, I'm intrigued. There's so much that I really want to know. I'm trying to clarify it in my mind. You know, what I think let's start off with, what does visibility mean to you?
Well, for me, visibility, and especially in how I work with anybody, visibility is about being seen by the people you want to be seen by. So whether you are in a career where you want to be promoted and you want people to see your gold, your worth, you know, your value, or whether you're aspiring to start a business and you are navigating the whole thing, which is sometimes known as niche, but for me, not quite. Maybe it's you just want to know who are the people that I'm supposed to be working with or selling to or serving. And for us old hats, you know, when we've been doing this for a while, there's always like another level, another stage, and sometimes that evolves. And it's one of the things that people don't talk about. But when you're evolving in your business, it could be that you slightly change what you're providing, the service that you're providing. And in that, sometimes it means that the people that you want to gravitate towards and you want to magnetize towards you will change. So visibility is about being, acting, speaking, living in a way that allows those people to find you.
Yeah.
That's for me what visibility is about.
Oh, thank you so much for clarifying that as well, because, you know, I think I can remember, I don't remember how long ago it was, but I remember it very, very distinctly, somebody saying to me, Alison, you need to be more visible in your business, and kind of going into this real fear because my interpretation was, oh my gosh, that means I've got to go and stand on stage.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, actually I have done that, talking to audiences of like 300 people or even more actually. But that was kind of my immediate reaction, and I hadn't really considered the vast amount of other ways that we can be visible. And as you kind of said, it's about, being heard and being noticed as well.
And I mean, it's so true, because for some people, the visibility piece, ultimate invisibility for them may be standing on a stage. It might be writing for a national newspaper or big magazine. It could be, being the best and most well-known person, almost being famous. But actually, visibility for some people often has its connotations to showing off and shouting the loudest. Of course, many of which we've been told as children, by well-meaning people around us, stop showing off, stop doing this, stop doing that. So people often associate the whole visibility piece with getting out there in such a big way that they actually feel uncomfortable. And that's not always the way it is. It could be that you're a cake maker in a small town and you want everybody in that town to buy your cakes, and you're not interested in travelling the world and taking your business worldwide. That's visibility for that person. So visibility needs to come from who you are, who you want to be, and how you show up in the world. If it's standing on an international stage and you're feeling that you don't want to do it and it's not appropriate for you, it's likely that you're hearing somebody else that's giving you a should. You should be doing this or you should be doing that. So it's important to do it as you, not as somebody else.
Oh, goodness me. So kind of when I introduced you, I talked a little bit about your previous life, some of the selling training that you used to do for some of these big corporates. Would you be happy just to share with us a little bit about your story and how you kind of not only came into business, I mean, that would really love to hear that, but also about, how you have now landed this title, the Queen of Being Seen. How did that all evolve? But I just think it would be really great for the listeners to understand the story behind this. And I think stories are so incredibly powerful. We can learn so much just by not only sharing our story, but also having the opportunity and the gift of actually listening to somebody else's story too.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say, I like busting the business baloney, as I call it. And the first thing that I want to say is that people may have you believe that you have to have it all figured out, and once it's perfect and figured out, then you show it to the world. In my experience, it's worked completely the opposite way. So the first thing that I want to say is that this is me where I am today, from any evolution or anything that I've done in my business, where probably as little as a year ago, because I'm sure you remember, Alison, when we first met, my thing was more, it seemed, about speaking, about helping people to present and get out there and speak authentically as them. But one of the things that I discovered was that I actually helped people to be really seen, heard, noticed, remembered, and to be really visible. When I then looked back at my corporate life, so to speak, and my life before my business, which is been doing this like all my life, I can speak to people and they'll remember me or something that I've said and quote me. So to go back to the beginning of the story was that when I left school, I went to catering college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my niche or my path was. And I just did that. I was really great at it. I learned to make cakes and chocolates and all sorts of exotic things at the time. But moving forward, I seem to be attracted to sales positions. I don't really know why or how. And one of the pivotal parts for me was working for Thomas Cook, or Thomas Cook Direct. Thomas Cook Direct was the first of its kind, a big open plan office, where we were selling holidays. And actually so first of its kind that I remember meeting Richard Branson when I was there. He came to have a look because he wanted to launch Virgin Direct and wanted to know how it was done. I had all these amazing experiences. But one of the things that really struck me was that when I went for my interview and had my training ultimately, I remember a really well-meaning trainer saying, introducing everybody in the room and saying that Jenny has got no travel experience, so I don't expect that she's really going to be much good at this to start off with anyway. And you know, one of those moments where you think, did she really just say that out loud? You know? And it was just like, you know, that little quiet voice, or call it intuition, your gut instinct that said, watch me. So what happened was I went out onto the sales floor and I learned everything that I was supposed to learn. And I left my, you know, sorry, a plane goes over just as I'm explaining this, but I left my peers behind because they all had training experience and they all did well, but I was one of the first people without any travel experience to actually hit £1 million worth of sales at Thomas Cook Direct in my first year. Now, what is quite kind of groundbreaking about that, without giving away my age, this was a couple of decades ago. So £1 million was worth like even more than it is now, you know. And I remember I achieved this in the first 9 months of selling, which had never been seen before by somebody who was new. Now, I didn't really understand why or how I did it, only that in my mind it was a case of somebody said that I can't do something, so I'm going to kind of prove that I can, you know. And it was only kind of sitting and reflecting on this in the last couple of years of how I was able to attain successes like that I realised that I made myself stand out, whether it was to my colleagues or whether it was to the customers on the phone, some of which randomly called a number. I made myself stand out in such a way that they would call back and they would insist on speaking to me. And when you think about that example alone, when you're calling a call centre, essentially, do you really ever remember who you've spoken to? You just say, oh, I spoke to somebody last week or earlier.
Gosh,
so there's an element of me. Exactly. There was an element of me that was already sort of doing this visibility piece. And then the other pivotal point that really struck for me was that I worked in financial services for many years. I worked in a very male-dominated environment and I loved it. And I remember making a decision that I decided I wasn't getting paid enough. So I wanted to increase my salary, you know, increase my career and really get out there. The words I used weren't, I want to be more visible. It was just like, I want to improve my career. I want to improve my salary. And I realised that a lot of the things that I teach and share now around visibility helped me within 2 years. I think I tripled my salary, just over tripled my salary, moved into management position and almost elevated in those management positions to just on the board level. However, the flip side of that, and being successful in doing that, is that sometimes, especially as a woman in business, you lose a big piece of yourself. I couldn't talk about my desire to want to have a family because the men in the boardroom didn't understand it. There were times where there were things I wanted to say and I kind of had my voice shut down. So there were a lot of sacrifices as well. So this isn't a boast or a look at what I've done. But in order to achieve these things, quite often there are parts of us that get ignored or don't get acknowledged and kind of get put by the wayside. And sometimes as women especially, we can walk away from those experiences feeling like wronged or that we've wronged ourselves.
Definitely.
So those were a couple of really, really pivotal points for me. And it was only in the last couple of years that I realised actually the behaviours, the things that I'd learned, the actions that I was taking were the things that made me stand out. And were that, you know, they were enabling me to be able to do more of what I wanted to do in my career, in my life, in my business, and for people to come back and find me quite easily because they remembered who I was.
And I'm guessing very much that everything that you learned in your corporate life, you've just translated it, just transferred it over to your entrepreneurial life. I
have, and also what I've been able to do is to bash out the hard edges of it as well, because sometimes it was like I could see these people being sort of elevated, and I won awards even as a manager, as an employee, you know, but there were some aspects of expectation of behaviours that weren't very nice, and I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this as me. I don't like treading on people's heads to to get to the next step. So I'm not going to condone it. I'm not going to encourage it, and I'm not going to share that sort of stuff because it's not helpful or useful. I want people to be able to do it in a way that feels comfortable to them and easier for them, and doing it as them, not me telling them how to do something, but me showing them what they can do and how they can do it, you know?
I love that. And I'm hoping that we can come back to that as well a little bit. Just share with us how the kind of the Queen of Being Seen label appeared.
I always think when you try to show your skills and yourself for what you do, there's a certain amount we can do ourselves from course. But for me, that just came with masterminding, good old-fashioned masterminding and spending time with people that held the same vision that I did. And it was funny because I almost rejected that name because I thought it sounded a bit kind of fakey and funny. But we were talking about when we go out and speak about what you do, you know, our people and what do you do. And if I'm honest, that came as a bit of a hit, you know. I was kind of sitting there thinking, I'm the visibility person, you know, and I thought, well, I remember listening to someone talking about their gift, and you know when someone talks about almost like their big why, that it bypasses your ears and goes straight to your heart, and you just think, this is what I'm here to do. And literally in that moment, I just got, you know, the Queen of Being Seen, because I can really put my peg in the ground and say, if you want to be seen, heard and noticed in your way to your world, I can really help you do that. Come to speak to me, whether you're an expert or whether you're a beginner or, you know, whether you're kind of in transition. And that's kind of how that came about.
Thank you so much, and I think it's wonderful that you shared also there that how important that was, that, you know, that title basically came from, you know, masterminding and being with your peers and, you know, always asking for feedback and how other people perceive you. I think this is so important, especially when we're talking about visibility as well. So you also talk about something called the visibility vibe.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Are you going to
what is
share us a little bit? Can you reveal all?
The visibility vibe came from, it was funny because when I first talked about visibility, I wanted to talk about the visibility vibration. You know when you're in flow, and it's almost like you get that really nice feeling in your stomach that you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you're in the right place, almost like the flow state. Some people call it their zone of genius or excellence. And I kind of held back on that. And later on, the piece that came, the vibe is actually an acronym. So the V is around really getting out, really being visible. The I is around making an impact. The B is about the biography of what you do. How do we speak about ourselves? How do we talk about ourselves? How do we show ourselves? And the E part of it was around energy. And of course, there is an S on the end, the vibe, and it's all about speaking, which is huge. How you speak to yourself, how you speak to others, how you speak to others if it's a one-to-one, if you're networking or connecting, if you're standing on a stage, if you're having a sales call, that piece is huge. So that's the visibility vibe. And the visibility vibe, in essence, is you being seen, heard, and felt by the people that you want to be seen, heard, and felt by. That's it. That's your vibe.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I mentioned right at the beginning that I really wanted to say at the same time. And one of the things that I was very keen to be saying was about how I have really observed and witnessed how you walk your talk. One of the things that you talk about here very much is, you know, being remembered. And, you know, there's this most beautiful quote from the late Maya Angelou. You know, people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you feel. And that's exactly conjures up. That is exactly what you do, Jenny. When I met you, you know, I talked right at the very beginning, you know, the impact that you had on me at that event. It's how you make somebody feel. This is so incredibly important. And I guess, you're the expert, but I guess with this whole word vibe, if one of those elements is out of alignment, then that's not going to happen. So, for example, if your energy it's knocked off kilter for whatever reason, could be having a bad day, maybe not be, on top form, or I guess everything is just going to be skewed. So that's why it's so important.
So true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I love that quote by Maya Angelou, because I remember hearing that, the people won't remember what you say, do they? Remember how you make them feel. And I think I actually got to that place not from thinking, right, that's a really good quote, that's what I'm going to do, but actually being on the receiving end of not being made to feel great about things in certain, whether it's a corporate environment, a school environment, whatever environment that was, a social environment. And just remember kind of making the decision that I never wanted anybody to be stood in front of me or around me and to be made to feel insignificant. And if I saw it, I would do whatever it took to stop it. And that feels like a life purpose for me. I don't want anyone to feel in that way. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about the vibe. But first of all, I've got a question really about... we're all different in our business. Some of us are quite extroverted. Some of us are quite introverted. How do we actually know that we are being visible?
Well, you normally get evidence of being visible or not being visible. So it could be that you maybe you go out to, say, for example, you come to a Global Winning Women meeting and you talk about something that you do, a service that you can offer. And then you find people saying, I really need help with the same service that you speak about. This is not a fault or not that you've done something wrong. It's just maybe that no one teaches you how to position yourself in a way that you're the go-to person or you're the credible person. And sometimes it's as simple as you tell somebody about what you do and they just don't get it. It's sometimes as simple as that, which is why I'm so passionate about helping people with the how to say it and what to say. Line me up with 10 vets. Each vet would need to say or do something different because they are all individual.
Absolutely. And I think there's something really, really beautiful in what you're saying there. Sometimes it's quite hard for us as an individual to be able to articulate exactly what we do. We kind of have it in our heads, but we don't always have the right words. And I think when we could work with somebody like yourself who can really draw that out with us with the techniques and the skills that you have, that's just so magical, because your perception is very, very different. Your reality is different than ours as well. That just really gets me juiced.
I just want to say about that point, though, in the spirit of being open and honest, so many people, I just say to them, tell me what you do. Don't tell me in marketing speak. Tell me what you do. I don't want the word to be perfect. And all I do is listen. And there's things that they say that pop, and there's almost like parts of their energy that get really excited and they might start speaking faster. I pay really close attention to the bits that really bring them alive. And then all I do is I give them the words back. That's it. I don't, I'd love to say that I take it away and my super brain does this, but actually I just listen to what's being said and where they really get energized, and then I give it back to them. And, 9.9 times out of 10, they'll go, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. What did you just say? And I'll say, actually, you said that.
You said it.
I'm giving it back to you.
Oh, goodness me. And, I think this is so important, because running a business and getting out there and getting known doesn't really matter if you've been doing this for a short amount of time or a long amount of time. I've seen people that that continue to struggle with articulating clearly what it is that they do. I can remember when I first set up in business, my background was in education, and I was, at that time, I set myself as a parent coach, and I can remember going along to a networking meeting, not one of ours. It was before Winning Women was born, and I went to this meeting and was desperately trying to articulate what it was, how I could particularly help these parents. And I wish I could remember my elevator speech, but I can't. And I just had these blank looks, and in that moment, I could have just crumbled into a million pieces. but I chose not to. I chose to, okay, I need to learn from this. I need to, make my message clearer, ask for feedback, all these sorts of things. So you can understand how this point is so crucial in your business, because it can knock your confidence if you're not able to articulate that clearly. You start potentially beating yourself up and thinking, gosh, it must be something, I'm not good enough. People don't understand me.
It's so true, Alison. I mean, the first sort of indicator for me with this was I'd had this background in sales. I'd got the £1 million sale title, and I'd got all these management accolades, first quarter company where people stayed there for 30 years, and I'm winning an award, and it took them 15 years to get there. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, I know I'm good at sales. I've done this in financial services, pretty dry subjects. If I can sell there, I can sell anywhere. And then I start my own business with, a bit of a cocky surety that I'm good with sales. I'll open my doors and everyone will come running. And guess what? Somebody asked me at my first networking meeting what I did. In my mind's eye, I thought it was going to come out very fluidly, very well articulated. And I found myself going, oh, I don't know what to say, and feeling awful. And then, for days, weeks, months later, beating myself up, wishing I'd said something differently, more punchy. And I thought, I can't be the only person that goes through this. And as I kind of really opened my eyes and ears and looked around me, I could see people were in the same boat. So that's kind of how I discovered how difficult it was, and kind of went, well, what can I do about it? I had to learn this myself, because just as I thought I'd cracked it, I realised I had the same issues that other people had, and that's why I love helping them with it,
Yeah, because you can so identify and resonate with, where they're at. Wow. Yeah. Let's go back to the Visibility 5, the system that you've created. Can you delve in a little bit deeper with some of the key elements to that system?
Yes, yeah. So there are lots of elements to it. So although I've sort of split it into the five parts. Now, part of it is really getting a sense of how you connect with yourself in your flow state and how you connect with other people. And then another really big part of it is how you show up as you. Who are you? Really, who are you? Which actually is one of the most difficult questions to answer. So, who are you when you're with your kids, or when you're at work, or when you're having fun, and really bringing the piece of who you are into your business. And then some other elements of it are around how you draw out your credibility, for want of a better expression, especially in your work and your business, and also how you tell the story of the things that make you vulnerable and open and the same as everybody else, And when you start to sort of weave all these pieces together, along with, energetically, there's so many elements and aspects of energetically, whether it's physical energy and kind of, the spiritual energy, and combine that with how you speak about it, that makes it really, really powerful. So there are lots of pieces that most of the people that I see are already doing this really well and really naturally, but then there are some other pieces that they just need a little bit of a kind of gentle stroke, as I say, the brush of a feather, and then, they're away. So the visibility vibe and that piece, it's like a system that brings everything together so that you as the person can show up in the way that you want to, without that awful kind of having to chase people down and hunt them down to buy your stuff or your services or your message. You just speak your truth as you, and people really resonate with that, and they come to you. And I know that sounds a bit kind of too good to be true, but in my experience, that's what happens.
And the piece that I've just got, which is so magical about this, is when you know who you are, when you are really connected with yourself, it doesn't matter how your business evolves. If you suddenly find that you have taken a wrong turning and you're suddenly going down a different trajectory, this still all applies, because at the end of the day, we're talking about you. Exactly. Isn't that magnificent? Wow. Rather than having to suddenly come up with a whole new strapline, which is traditionally how we've been taught. over the years?
Well, this is the thing. There's
wow.
no such thing to me as a people say, oh, I've gone down the wrong path. Actually, no, you've just taken a different turn.
I agree.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a different turn.
Yeah. Wow. That is just so powerful as well. I love this. I really, really love this. So I think there's one thing that I've identified. I see quite a lot with people when they're out there. They're kind of, it's a little bit like the music industry. That's what I would like to liken it to. And I'd just be really interested in your thoughts around this, Jenny, because, sometimes like you hear of a number one UK band or something, or a singer, and then they kind of are no longer on your radar anymore. They've lost their visibility, and then they come back with another hit.
Yeah.
What's the magic piece about this? Because we don't kind of forget them. So I guess this is about what you were saying, for impact. It's a lasting impact. I just wondered if you could share a little bit around that, because I know that what I'm thinking here is, it potentially to be under everybody's radar in different mediums could be quite hard work to constantly be, there in front of people all the time. And we all need a break from time to time as well. So this piece about impact is quite intriguing for me. I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So the thing about impact is there's another I behind that, as well as being who am I. There's also the being iconic. And it's funny because a mutual friend of ours mentioned this word iconic, and I thought that's exactly what it's about. When somebody is iconic, they're remembered for being or doing the thing that they do. So they can go away and have a break and have a holiday or have a rest or go and work on new material, as you would do as a musician, and still come back, shining. If you think, it's probably a bit of an aggressive, and I apologise, a bit of an aggressive example. Think of like Muhammad Ali, just because he didn't have to fight every single day of his life. He could go and train and prepare himself for the next phase or the next fight or the next thing that he was doing, and then come out again. But because the impact that he had was enabling himself to be iconic, he was able to do that, and people would love him the same as they would do in the music industry. And I think one of the things that saddens me is in the industry, sometimes people are led to believe that they've got to be at the forefront of everything every single time. That's really exhausting, and actually it doesn't serve anybody. If you were a plant or a tree or something, that's like saying the tree has to be sort of flowering and beautiful green leaves all the year round. They have their winters. They go underground for a bit. They shed their leaves, and they kind of just chill out and get ready for the next year. And so should we.
And I'm so glad you shared this. This, to me, is the whole giving women permission piece. And I think we have been set up almost to, we're still working at breaking down the chains, not the brains, the chains and the barriers to always being perfect, always, being in the spotlight and working hard. But there are other ways, and I think this whole visibility vibe is absolutely essential to being able to look at who we're being in our business. Wow. It's incredibly powerful, Jenny. Incredibly powerful.
And if you think about it, Alison, as a mother, as a woman, if you are able to spend the time that you want to with your children without feeling pinched or I need to get back to work, if you're allowed to do that, spend the wholesome holidays with them and see them laugh and have fun, as a woman in business, you show up in such a powerful, stronger way than one who has got, their head in the office and nose behind the computer and secretly wondering whether the kids are missing them or not. It just really throws the dynamics out. And again, that saddens me because it doesn't have to be that way. It really is all about you. As a woman business owner, if you are looking after yourself first and foremost, it allows you to look after the people you love closest to you, whether it's your family or, your children, husband, girlfriend, whatever that, whoever that person is, allows you to look after them and show up for them, which means that then you can show up in your life in a very, very powerful and kind of magnetic way, a really attractive way that shows, you can then showcase what you do in your business in a way that people really like. You show up frazzled and feeling guilty. It doesn't empower anybody,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the bit that we have to lose. Jenny, I was going to ask you a question around the mistakes that people make. We've kind of identified some of them here. I just wondered, are there any other obvious, perhaps myths or mistakes around visibility that you'd like to highlight? Or have we kind of covered it?
There's so many, but one that stands out is the be perfect piece. People think that there is a form of perfection. They either have to be perfect before they can go out and be visible, or have to have their websites done and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's a really big piece, and that's not true at all. The other piece is sometimes people think that they have to show that everything is going really well and great in their world. And actually, some of the lessons that we get are the dips, are the bumps that we hit. And in my experience, those are just as powerful to share with people as the successes. And I think sometimes people forget that.
And thank you again, because I think we're moving into this whole new way of being where being vulnerable, sharing your vulnerabilities is becoming a lot more accepted. And we can learn from this. It's powerful. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There is one more very quick myth that I just kind of want to tag on to the end of that.
Yeah, please.
In that the other thing that I see, people think that they are invisible because they don't have a 10K a day program, or they put on an event and they have 12 people come to the event as opposed to 6,000 people. That doesn't mean that you are not visible. You are visible where you are to the people that need you. And it saddens me because people sometimes give up at this point because they think they're not effective. And there's a saying about, if you think you're not effective, try being a mosquito in the dark, You can still have effect without having to be bigger, better, most expensive, drinking champagne in Paris or, wearing the best high-end shoes. You can be effective and visible being all of those things, but you can be effective and visible sitting in your, in your car outside doing the school run and really touching the lives of the people that you speak to. So I never want people to forget that.
And there's some, I was just suddenly, my mind went to some really fabulous bloggers. We may never have seen them. A picture of them may be on their blog, but that's it. But the impact that they're making and the visibility that they have worldwide, just through writing. But, again, it's all about visibility. Goodness me. I can really see and I really feel how the techniques that you've really honed and created are really helping people's profiles. It's impacting on their credibility. Have you got any advice, I guess, for people who want to be able to, who really feeling that they want time to plan things perfectly, or are also perhaps on the other hand a bit introverted and tempted to hide?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things about making your visibility decision, if you like, is to make a decision. And even if you've been working on it for the last year, 10 years, it doesn't matter. If you say today, this is what I really want and this is how I want it to be, come from a place of this is how I want it to be, not this is how it's expected of me. Once you do that, you can make a decision and go for it. You define your own rules and your own terms. And once you get really clear with that, that's when the magic seems to happen and it just really goes off in the way that you want it to be. Now, if you're an introvert and you write great blogs, you can be visible through your blog, And I have this real thing. It feels very life purpose, but I really feel like there are lots of people who are the next best things, and they're already out there. You're already blogging out there. You're already helping people with weight management or food or, how to be a success in there, as a mum or whatever. But you are already the next biggest things, but you probably don't feel like you are. And I just kind of want to give you permission to make that decision, decide who you want to work with, how you want to work with them, how many hours a day you want to work with them, and you go for it. Make that decision and go for it, you know.
Oh, I think that's fabulous. So, because I kind of know you a little bit as the queen of being seen, and also as Jenny, you know, you've clearly had a lot of visibility with lots of great results. Now, winning women are really big on celebration. You've had a few recent celebrations this year. I just love it. I'd love to give you the platform, the opportunity here, just to share a couple of, well, two things that are springing to mind for me, opportunities, you know, that have come through the work that you're doing, but also your own visibility for your own business.
Yeah,
would you
quite
like to
bizarrely. I would love to share. It's funny because I still, like you can hear, I still get a bit like, oh, well, I'll share it, you know. So just one of the things that happened very, like at the beginning of this year, so January 2014, I was awarded an award by my mentor in America. And I've only been in her, at that point, her mastermind for 3 months, and it was around sales, authenticity and success. Now, that might not sound a lot to other people because of this background in sales I've had. This is doing sales in a new way, in a really magnetic way, in a really sort of juicy, lovely, impactful way. So for me to get an award so early on in the piece, it just made me really grateful, because on the face of it, the award is around selling and how you can sell, but actually it just gives you another stroke of, you know what, you can do this. Yeah. You can do this, and you can show other people, so it validates you. So that was just one of the things that happened this year. I've had a few actually, and I kind of forget about some of them. And then the second piece, ironically, is for me, showing people how visible they can be. People often ask me, how do I get international speaking gigs? You know, how do I get more speaking gigs? And in truth, because I am able to be remembered, people have often come to me in the past. However, just recently I went to Vegas and I was asked to introduce my mentor onto the stage to an audience of 500 people in the room who came from all over the world, as it was, as well as America, and about 200 people worldwide. And what was really interesting is, even for me, I get that excitement and nervousness of speaking, but you know what? If anybody had tried to stop me from getting up on that stage, they wouldn't have been able to. And I just got up there, and it was interesting for me that the piece that really juiced me and really kept me focused and going and inspiring was that I was called a moment of inspiration. And for me, my only job was to get up on that stage and inspire whoever I could inspire. So one of the things that I kind of went through was that if I get up on that stage and I inspire just one person in this room, then my job's done. It's almost like I can retire now. You know, my job is done. My work here is done. And that was huge for me, and just so honouring, really, just to be able to do that for my mentor, who I think is amazing, you know.
And Jenny, thank you so much for sharing those celebrations, because you know, obviously, as an ambassador, how big celebration is, because, you know, when we're shining our light, we're giving permission to other people to do the same very, very much. And even those tiny little steps that you take, you know, give yourself a pat on the back for that, because it's just one of many, many steps that are enabling you to become who you are, and you know, that position that you have in the entrepreneurial world, we need to acknowledge it. And your achievements that you've just shared there, they're huge, they're vast. I you know, kind of heard a little bit of a downplay around the award
it's
one,
funny.
But
you know
but
why?
isn't it interesting
There's
how
a downplay? It's for other people. I think this visibility piece is for you, and you, not for me. So I'm like, I've shown you I can do it, but I want to show you can do it. That's the bit that I'd be shouting from the rooftops, you know.
But isn't it funny how, you know, your own stuff is showing up in this, and how you're able to share this, because, you know, people will resonate with that even more. We're really, really getting tight on time here, Jenny, unfortunately. I mean, oh gosh, there's so much that we could be talking about here. But I'd love to invite you. Is there anything you'd like to offer our listeners that can really help them to stay visible and connected with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I am visible myself, so I'm all over Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. But if you go to my website, which is www.gift-wish.co.uk, you can sign up to receive free visibility tips, videos, and just little things that you can implement in your life to get you really seen, heard and noticed and remembered as well. So I invite you to say hello to me online and offline, and just really taking you from I can't to I can.
Oh, that's one of your passions, and that's all about spreading the ripples. And Jenny, what we will do, we will make sure that those links go out. The other place, obviously, that anybody can connect with Jenny is also in the Global Winning Women Live Facebook group. Feel free if you've got any questions that may have come up that are of general interest to other people as well. Tag Jenny. She's in the group. I'm sure, Jenny, you'd be delighted to, just follow up on any questions that may have arisen from our chat this evening.
Absolutely.
Super. Jenny, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. There's just been some really juicy nuggets. Sometimes I just wish these calls could be twice the length. But there's nothing from stopping us from having another chat another time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.